Wakey, wakey, another beautiful day, 27th of June 2023. And I'm glad that you're joining us this morning here on Morning Prime. Being on a Tuesday, we have Siasa Fiesta coming your way, where we're going to slice and dice, of course, matters political, looking at the political scenario currently in the country, what is happening so far. Yesterday, we saw in the Senate, of course, Deputy Governor Oduol had another lease of life as far as his impeachment is concerned. But there are other raft of issues that we'll be putting on the table as well, knowing that Raila will be jetting back in the country. Already, their plans up their collective sleeves for going back to the streets and having people's barazas regarding the passage of the finance bill. The question we've been always asking, have we passed the Rubicon? Is it way too late right now? They were to come up with the people's, of course, budget. But right now, we've not seen any plans from the other side of the divide as far as politically matters are concerned. Today, we're going to look at a raft of other issues. Of course, also looking at what is happening with devolution. We're still waiting to see if the MCAs will turn around, because they've been threatening to scuttle the whole process of budgeting in the counties as well. We're joined this morning by the Deputy Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Owen Baya, also nominated Senator Tabitha Mutinda. We're joined by Dan Manzu as well, who's a Senator for Makueni, and we'll have also here on set with us Dr. James Mikal, who is the Member of Parliament from Seme. You know the drill. Head over to our Twitter handle, KTN News is our Twitter handle, and as always, at Dibalanea, you can tag me along. You can fire your questions, also chime in and contribute as far as the conversation will be concerned. We're very nimble, of course. Sometimes it just goes off the rail regarding with what is a matter of interest as well. But we want to begin this morning by looking at what is fresh off the press. As you can see, the bold paper is just focusing on what was happening on the Senate yesterday. And this is what we are waking up to. Ruto-Raila battles rescue Oduol from axe. That is what is headlining the front page of the Standard today. And we want to also to just, or you'd want to pick up that so that you can actually get a good grasp of what really happened yesterday. What was the main reason for this particular impeachment? Is it politically instigated? Were people bankrolled as far as his impeachment is concerned? Who is sincere? Is it he or the governorship? The leadership, of course, of Siaya County, led by Governor James Orengo. This is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Ruto-Raila battles rescue Oduol from axe. A flurry of calls from Kenya Kwanza alliance leaders convinced the senators to vote according to their plan, vanquishing any prospect of Azimio having its way in pushing out Orengo's deputy. This story continues on page 4 of the Standard this morning. As I mentioned, showdown looms after Ruto's tax note, with the finance bill assented to and prices expected to rise from July the 1st. Azimio leaders say it is time it is time the Mwananchi protested the high cost of living. This is on page 7 of the Standard this morning. Notable taxes and finance bill 2023, effective from 1st July 2023. Come next week, this is how things will go up. Same-day collection of betting, gaming, lottery tax, that is bound to go up by 5%, withholding tax on digital content monetization. Also, capital gains tax on transfer of shares, partnership interest, or comparable interest, where they derived more than 20% of their value. There is also 5% withholding tax on sales, promotion, marketing, and advertising services offered by resident persons. 3% turnover tax for businesses whose revenues is 1 million shillings to 25 million shillings. Exemption of LPG from 8% VAT. Also 16% VAT on petrol, kerosene, aviation fuel, jet fuel, etc. Imports of raw materials and intermediate products by manufacturers now 2.5% of the customs, up from 1.5% and not 15. Also inputs for construction under the affordable housing scheme, 2.5% up from 1.5%. Going up there and looking at the teaser, Malala plan to audit cabinet splits UDA. Malala plan to audit cabinet splits UDA. This is on page 6 of the Standard this morning. Rival claim victory in Sierra Leone polls. That is on page 28 of the Standard. And Kenya to reboot oil project. This is on page 23 of the Standard. And why 2023 WRC rally was the toughest? Yeah, the story continuing on page 37 of the Standard this morning. Oro, I wanted to say we move on to the Daily Nation, but we can see also on the sidebar, cost of loans to go up after CBK review margins. No, that has climbed up to 10% or 10 percentile points there, the highest in 7 years. The central bank yesterday raised its policy lending rate to 10.5%, actually, the highest in 7 years. As we can see here, a move that will push lenders to adjust their borrowing rates. And that is on page 3. Loans are bound to be very expensive with this particular move by the new governor. Every Tuesday, you have Financial Standard coming inside the Standard. Get all the wise as always, as far as financial literacy is concerned. This is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy for yourself. And just picking up from where the Standard was informing us on the cost of loans, expensive loans add to tax paying as Ruto signs bill is what is a splash on the front page of the Daily Nation. Money Matters, new lobby has vowed to challenge Finance Act in court. It will be rough. Kenyans should now bear or brace themselves for new. Let me try and zoom in. It says Kenyans should now brace themselves for new higher loan interest rates in the next 60 days after the Central Bank of Kenya raised this benchmark rate by 1 percentage point. This came as President William Ruto assented to a finance bill that is expected to pile more pressure on businesses and the salaried, as well as push up the cost of living, and the court declined to issue orders against the new tax law. You have 6, 7, and 8 of the Daily Nation. It is 1 percentage point, and not 10 as I mentioned. 10 is actually the current rate that has been raised. Which way Raila? Probing question there. Decision time. As leader Raila Odinga is fast running out of options in his quest to tame President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza administration. All his previous attempts, from refusing to recognize his presidency to calling for secession, have come a cropper, fresh from major upsets in the National Assembly and the Senate on the finance bill and the CIA deputy governor impeachment motion. What does Mr. Odinga have up his sleeves this time round? That is the abiding question. Maybe the answer you can follow on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation today. And the failed attempt are all enumerated here for you to see. Presidential election petition loss that went down the tubes. Refusal to recognize Ruto presidency, also that went down the tubes. Product boycotts went down the tubes as well. March to State House, nothing really came to fruition. Expulsion of rebels to force by-elections, also that came to a cropper. Secession calls that did not see the light of day. ICC petition, that as well crumbled. Release of IBC whistleblowers results, we've never seen that up to today. And losses in Senate and National Assembly, you saw it yesterday. So what is up his collective sleeves? We eagerly wait to see if there's a resumption of him this week. Good news for Boda in free insurance training plan. That is on the back page of the Daily Nation. And the Boda Care, the government will pay for 1 year's insurance cover for 117,000 Boda operators who have received road safety and first aid training, are licensed and are members of a savings and credit cooperative society. Senators vote to save CIA's Oduol. Kenya Kwanza lawmakers gang up to deal Azimio rivals. A blow as they use their numbers to vote against impeachment of Deputy Governor. This is on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. Kenyan trader probed for shipping arms to Shabab. A businessman is being investigated in connection with 2 illegal shipments of military equipment and explosives seized at Mogadishu port last month. The state alleges that Mr. Zakaria Kamal Sufi Abasheikh bought military equipment from China on behalf of Al-Shabaab and facilitated its shipment to Somalia. Now, documents sent by the nation indicate that the items seized at Mogadishu port include 5 high-specification JS crop drones, rifles, scopes, rolls of material for making military uniforms, and 3,000 meters of canvas. This story is well laid out for you on page 12 of the Daily Nation this morning. Of course, this goes to show how it's really exacerbating now the rise of and resurgence of Al-Shabaab, as we've witnessed in the recent past, just including over the weekend, where we saw 5 Kenyans being beheaded by Al-Shabaab. That is the Daily Nation. Let's move on to see what the Star has for us. Ruto's health plan to cost 550 billion shillings. Government to hold 3-day forum to decide how to get the money. So the money is not really there yet. This story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. It's all about reforms. New headache as ministry says Kenya only has 247 billion shillings. And we can see an insert here. Deep thought. President William Ruto during the launch of border capacity building and empowerment program at KICC yesterday. Also looking on his roads, transport and public works cabinet secretary Kipchumba Murkomen. The story continues to pass inside the Star this morning. Let's see what we have on the side. New KEMSA boss is dragged into 3.7 billion shillings mess. That is the story that you want to follow here. And it says that acting KEMSA boss Andrew Mulwa has been dragged into the bungled mosquito tender mess that cost the country a record 3.7 billion shillings. A senior officer working under Mulwa, who was then Director of Preventive and Promotive Health, told senators that Mulwa was aware of the inconsistencies around the tender but failed to act. That story continues on page 6 of the Star. Alcohol crackdown. Nasir orders closure of bars near schools. Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Narsel has ordered a crackdown on bars and liquor stores operating near education and religious institutions. The governor ordered that no bar or liquor store will be allowed to operate within a radius of 150 meters from any academic or religious institution within the county. And the story is also fleshed out for you on page 2 of the Star this morning. Looking at the teaser on top there, KK to the rescue as senators serve Siaya Deputy Governor Oduol, and that is also fleshed out for you on page 2 of the Star this morning. New taxes kick in from next week. New taxes kicking from next week. Mixed bag of taxpayers. It says President has signed the finance bill into law, meaning that from Saturday, some of the taxes become payable, while others have been staggered to September and January. Higher education that starts on Saturday. We have higher deduction, I should say. So I didn't see the D there. Higher deductions that start on Saturday. 16% VAT on petrol, 1.5% housing levy, 32.5% income tax for workers earning over 500,000, 3% turnover tax for small businesses, 35% income tax for workers earning over 800,000. We have also 12.5% excise tax on earnings from betting and gaming, 10% excess tax on fish imports. That's the new reality. And we have lower levies that start this weekend. 1.5% railway development levy for all imported goods. We have 15% excess duty on money transfer by banks and other entities. Also 2.5% import declaration fee on all imported goods for home use. You have for 7.5% of gross rental income, down from 10%. And that is the other side of the finance bill the rough and the smooth of it as far as the passage and ascension to it is concerned. Move to end in fighting, rocking UDA. Move to end in fighting, rocking UDA. You can find all about the party infighting there and what is happening on page 2 of the People Daily this morning. Teachers protest over cash. Capitation bias, that is a probing question. And it says money for schools has been coming late and government has not honored all its obligations over last 2 years. This is what the heads of secondary school are claiming right now. Remember, they have their conference in Mombasa. By the way, also some schools have closed so far, just going to show how also there is a problem of cash if this capitation has not been honored. The story continues on page 6 of the People Daily this morning. And cost of loans up as Tuge chairs first CBK meeting. You know the story right now. All the details also are well laid out for you on page 15 of the People Daily this morning. Imeenda. And that is a passage of the finance bill. Rais atia saini mswada tata wa fedha unaotarajiwa kupandisha zaidi gharama ya maisha hasa kwa walalahoi. And you can see the president assenting to that particular controversial bill. And also the illustration for you so far, you know all this. By now you should be intimately familiar by what is inside the Finance Act right now that was just passed or assented to by the president, passed by Parliament. It is all stipulated for you here. And Mchele Babes Wavuna, you can read all about that in Vidokezo. That is inside. Taifa Leo Oduol aponyoka, macho yote sasa kwa Raila. What does he have for Kenyans or for his supporters? That is on page 3 of Taifa Leo this morning. Let's buckle down to some business. And it's all about that 1% percentage rise of the benchmark rate by CBK. Thuge strikes, sets tone with highest loan rate in 7 years. Surprise meeting increased CBR to 10.5% from 9.5%. Rise meant to contain effects of new taxes from July. And after just 1 week in office, the new Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, that is, Governor Kamau Thuge, called a surprise policy-making meeting yesterday that increased the benchmark lending rate to the highest point in nearly 7 years. On heightened fear of a spike in consumer prices, the move, which sets the tone of new CBK leadership, has ushered in a new era of expensive bank loans and will further erode the spending power of Kenyans' consumers. High interest rates mean consumers will spend more to service their loans. Besides bank borrowers, the higher rates will also hit ordinary consumers in the form of more expensive goods on the shelves. This continues on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. Kenya increases domestic borrowing target by 50 billion shillings. Kenya increases domestic borrowing target by 50 billion shillings. Remember, the debt ceiling being pegged on the GDP. It's a moving target. The Treasury has raised the domestic borrowing target for the current financial year by 50 billion shillings, backpedaling on the previous cut effected in the first mini-budget released by the Kenya Kwanza administration. Base titanium to take a hit on depleted Kwale mining area. Base titanium is projecting a drop in production at its Kwale operation by nearly half in the financial year starting July, signaling reduced royalties for the Treasury. This is what the Business Daily has for us this morning. And what taxpayers will spend on Ruto-Raila Kalonzo parks? Taxpayers will spend 645.09 million shillings to fund the parks of former President Uhuru Kenyatta, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and former Vice President in the financial year starting July, pointing to the highest cost or sustaining top civil servants in retirement. And there is an illustration for you if you want to follow what taxpayers will spend to keep former state officers happy. And this is the PAC's retirement package. Uhuru Kenyatta, we have 2022-2023, 635.3 million shillings. At 2023 or to 2024, 440. Raila Odinga as well, 78.7. We have 74.7, 2023, 2024. And you know the drill, you can follow the illustration there. And the total amount given as well. That is from the supplementary budget from Treasury. That is the reality on the ground. That's a business daily. We cross over now to Uganda, where URA raises red flag on digital car plates. URA raises red flag on digital car plates. Buyer beware. You're being warned here if you're waking up in Uganda. And also government to train special force to guard Mumbere and iron sheets. FDC turn the heat on DPP. The scandal investigation of the iron sheets in Uganda continues. You can read all about it inside today's daily. And also, DNA analysis confirm 11 students' identities. Remember the students who were flawed and gunned down by Al-Shabaab. 11 so far have been identified. And you can read the story of the Kasese attack inside the Daily Monitor this morning. In Tanzania, how government's approved budget will affect you. How government's approved budget will affect you. Also, they had the passage of the reading of the estimates this month. And all the details are well laid for you inside. They are all laid out for you inside the Citizen CCM to monitor Ali Karume for 3 months over criticism. That is what we have there. And we have also an insert of President William Ruto there. It's not very visible on my side, but you can grab a copy if you're waking up in Tanzania. The Citizen is fresh off the press. All right. I will show you the editorial cartoons much later. Also, I'll show you what we do have inside the international magazines as well. The Economist, Time Magazine, Newsweek, The Week as well, and also the Harvard Business Review. With me here in studio this morning is the Deputy Leader of Majority. That is the Deputy Majority Leader in the National Assembly. Yeah. Today my system is not working out yet. It's buffering.
It's buffering.
It's really buffering. Challenges of sometimes in the mornings, yeah. But good to see you. Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to be here.
This is a fresh week for you.
Yes.
You feel the weight of the finance bill now. But the cloud bank has passed.
Yes. The finance bill is passed and signed into law. And it will its effects will start kicking in 1st of July. And yeah, we have a new financial year. And we have more resources for the country to use on its plan, and a reduction on our debt commitments. And well, we look forward to the long term, that this country would be better off, and that the economy will improve.
So after you see, we are aware that next week things will go up. Just yesterday also we have the new central bank governor telling us, yes, even now the benchmark rate from the MPC, now it is at 10.5%. So even the cost of borrowing for Kenyans
now you see
will be very expensive.
With the finance bill passed, there are many things that will be adjusted. In relation to the finance bill, because CBK has to start reviewing its lending rates or its rates, and a lot of sectors will adjust. A lot of sectors will adjust as we try to, as the finance bill takes effect. So a lot of sectors will definitely adjust. But going forward, I think in the long term, the economy will stabilize, and there'll be more money in the economy. We will be paying less on debt, and therefore we'll have more reserves. And I think the demand on the dollar will go down. So when the demand on the dollar will go down, even fuel prices will come down, because I think apart from the G2G purchase or procurement of oil, where we are using Kenyan shillings, there'll be now lesser demand for the dollar. If there's lesser demand of the dollar, the cost of the dollar will come down. We expect the dollar to come down to 120 from 130, 120, progressively probably go to hit 110. So when it hits 110, the cost of imports will be lesser. It will be lesser. And when the cost of imports is lesser, there is lesser, our national reserves will still be there. Even debt now we will pay at a lower rate, because the dollar is down, and therefore a lot of effect. Right now, what we need to do as a country is to fight to bring the dollar down. When the dollar comes down, this economy will patter. Will take a plateau. Will plateau somehow, and it will be good for everyone.
Well, but there is no coming of a dollar down anytime soon, because we've seen this projecting even to next year. Even that will also be affecting our payment of debt. I wanted just to maybe gravitate to the issue now of what is happening within the UDA itself. There seems to be wrangles. We had also a faction there of Mohammed Ali. There is the Secretary General coming up with the issue of also trying to move around Kenya to try and sort of rate the cabinet secretaries and the PSs. People are saying this is not within their remit at all. Where did that really come from?
Now, I want to join my sister Gladys Boschele in what she's saying, that I think our Secretary General needs to come to terms that we have a nascent government that needs to take space. And his activities are not doing well for the party. He's a young, vibrant person, and we appreciate that. And that's the kind of Secretary General we need. But I think he needs to be measured. He needs to be measured in what he's doing. So, because why are we trying to awaken the political system while we have an economic system that we want to stabilize? Why these party meetings? You know, the party, yes, we want to build a vibrant party, but one thing at a time.
So you're not telling me these party meetings, they're ad hocery? I mean, they're bits ad hoc. No. Then you're not really.
They are planned.
They're organized, but
they are planned. But what is the motive? Why do you want to go there and start mobilizing party? Now, party activities now. You know, I think we need to downplay a bit the issues of the party. Let things settle down, and allow the government to be formed, because the party formed the government, and this government requires time to settle in, you know, and we do not want to start fighting so many fronts, battlefronts at the same time. So when you go to Mombasa and you pit Mohammed Ali against Hassan Omar, what do you expect? You know, I think the Secretary General was also in my county some time ago, and I didn't like. I asked what is the relevance of this meeting? Yes.
So the meeting was unbeknownst to you?
What is the relevance of this meeting? Why do you want to come to Kilifi and hold a huge party meeting? People, you know, at this particular time in government, there's so many people, you know, when you form government, there's so many people who feel left out. Okay, they feel left out. They feel like things you know, I fought for the party, but the president has said we still have a long time to put everybody in a good position. But now when you go now to the parties and try to do what you want to do, you know, you start, people just air grievances throughout, you know. I was there for the party. Why is it so and so has been appointed and I have not been appointed? Why is it that these positions have been given to people like this? So I think that needs to settle down. Secondly, the issue of auditing cabinet. I think this government has given Parliament a free hand to oversight cabinet. and to oversight government ministers. Why do you want to rope in the party for such things? You're going to create disgruntlement within the party unnecessary. You know, we are operating so many war fronts, and it's not good. You want to deal with one thing at a time. We have a finance bill. We have issues in finance bill. We want to convince Kenyans that this is the right thing to do. We want to do the right thing with the finance bill. We want that. But now when you now start bringing issues that seem to be controverting what we are doing, I think I want to ask my brother Malala from this station to cool down a bit. You know, probably he has too much energy and less work, and he's becoming a penny in the wrong place. I think he needs to. Yes, a small car with a huge engine. The car will be rattling throughout. After some time, it will become a jalopy, and he will not have a car. So I think he needs to put his energies elsewhere, stay in the party, look at the structures of the party, look at policies, look at things like that. You know, in the party, there's a lot of work inside the party headquarters that he needs to sit down. You know, we registered UDA members in a record 1 year, and we had 8 million members in 1 year. And we had a Secretary General who was able to do that work very easily without going out there and making noise or being controversial.
Thank you.
You understand?
Thank you.
And I think he needs to learn from he needs to call Veronica Maina for a tutorial or something so that we have things running properly.
Well, we were inclined to wonder how also Malala got that particular position so fast, rising through the ranks of UDA, yes, from ANC. So you are the one actually, you know, you had this particular goose, so to speak. So it's cooking itself. Let's hear from Tabitha. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you too.
Yes, and yesterday was a busy day also in Senate. You can prime us on what really happened yesterday. Everyone was keeping their eyes peeled as far as the impeachment of Oduol was concerned. I know that also has risen some debates around the impeachment motions that are coming to the Senate, especially people are raising questions about the former governor of Kiambu, the former governor of Nairobi as well. But from your own assessment, looking at the debate on the floor of the House and the impeachment, I know the resumption still of the deputy governor of Siaya, what did you deduce?
Thank you, Dibal. And let me start by saying that I was also part of the 11-member committee. And I had, yes.
So you got some info here, some inner.
All actually.
Our ears are packed, tell us.
Yeah, from the beginning and all that. There were 4 accusations that the county assembly had put across for the deputy governor. And we were able to have a smooth hearing, I could say. All went well. And looking at the issues that came aboard from where we sit and from where I sit, you realize some of the issues, to me, were issues of last year, 2023. When the governor came, when they got into the, governance in 2022 September, all was very well. The way a new marriage begins and it's all rosy. Because one thing that came out which was very good was that the governor had given, had instructed the finance officers to always report to the deputy governor. And why did this happen? Is because the deputy governor background career, he's a financial expert and is an ISPAC member, and through his expertise, then the government advised that all his team within the finance department to be able to always give him briefings and report to him. And further to that, this particular deputy governor was also a chair of a committee which is called the Pending Bills Committee. I sit as a vice chair of finance committee, and we realized that there are so many pending bills in the county government. And this was a good concept whereby most county governments have the pending bills committee. Hence, this deputy governor was a chair. And being a chair, as I stated, he was not working alone. Of course, he had committee members who could sit down and be able to prioritize in terms of which supplier to be paid and all that. So the issues that came about was like the deputy governor was instructing and pushing that specific people be paid. Yet it was the decision of the committee out of looking at all these things. And mark you, even you look at the emails that moved from one individual to the other, these were emails back in last year. Same case to the issue where the governor was being accused of using his office, to do personal...
the deputy governor.
The deputy governor, sorry. Like when he attended the ISPAC. But you see, today, I am a senator. If something comes to me and a letter comes to me as Maureen Tabitha Mutinda, I will attend, but I cannot remove my heart of being a senator. I'm still a senator, but I'm attending this particular function. So I'll still be received and like a senator. So the issues that were coming about was that he went there and the county financed him and all that. But then we asked the county, then if you feel that he was not supposed to be, why did you not stop? Because he's not the one giving himself the funds. He came to your table, he said he has a trip and blah, blah, blah. But you effected that. And you effected that last year. Then why is this impeachment coming in June 2023? The other thing that was quite funny, of course, was the chair. This seat, according to the procurement and the receipt and the delivery,
1 million chair.
The controversial 1.1 million chair. And the curiosity was like, can we see this chair? Because, 1.1 million chair.
Must be a massaging chair.
Definitely. And what was so funny is that the deputy governor stated that it was just the last week, before the impeachment, that he got to know the chair was costing 1.1. All he said, like any new, even like you when you go to any new office, he stated that he needed some adjustments, some polishing, some furniture. That's what he expressed. But he did not go and say, I want this chair, or procure this chair, or do this chair. So the procurement did what they were supposed to do through the procurement procedure, and they did that. But what was funny, the procurement officer says, the lowest bidder was 1.1. And then you wonder, and funny enough, this procurement, this supply was done from Siaya County, whereby you feel that if it's in Siaya County, it actually should be much cheaper because it's locally manufactured and produced from there. Unlike when you say this was imported or even was bought from Nairobi, we know in Nairobi we have some very high-end furniture places, but it was locally bought there and the price was costing 1. He was not aware he was sitting on a 1.1. He got to know it very late. They kept on saying, oh, he bulldozed. Then you wonder, what is really bulldozing when you talk about being bulldozed? And they said that he had to wake up at 2 a.m. But did I wake up 2 a.m. to send an email to the governor, deputy governor, and tell them this is not possible? You woke up in your own will, but at the end of the day, there's in one issue that he was being told that he was trying to change a tender document, and about 86 tenders were on table because people had applied. He was voicing and asking, like the way you're not an expert at procurement, but then you ask the procurement, is this possible? Then that is when the procurement says, oh, I woke up, at 2, I was stressed and all that. But really, at the end of the day, they told the deputy governor, no, this one is not possible. And he understood. I said, fine. And when were these things happening? November 2022. And when Waswahili wanasema maji ilizidi unga, where did this, what was this brought about from? It was brought about from the fact that the deputy governor started questioning on the transfer of funds from the CRF account to the interest account. Huge transfers amounting to the interest account, whereby in one transaction, one individual is withdrawing 900,000. After 2 hours, 3 hours, 900,000. You know very well, Dibal, that the bank maximum you should be able to withdraw is less than 1 million. Then you need documents. Less than that, definitely you can be able to withdraw. And hence there was it was ranging between 800 to 900. After 3 hours, 900. Like that by one individual, impressed. Then the question was then, why are you withdrawing these funds like this? Then why don't you write a check or do transfer to the recipient? And they said, oh, there are those things that we're supposed to pay by cash, by cash, by cash, by cash. And why do you have all these bank accounts? And that's where the problem began, because the deputy governor questioned the transfer of these funds. PFM Act 90 says clearly that the county assembly should be able to set a cap for how much should the interest be. But in most scenarios, interest should be about 50,000 That should be the maximum. Even if it goes too much, 100,000 and all that.
And
But you're seeing
almost yeah.
Thank you. You're seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And the funny part is that within the same day, we are having like 5 withdrawals of same individual going and coming out of the bank after 3. They go back and they still withdraw. Why were funds? And in one of the documents, we saw that the county governor, the executive, paid the MCAs directly a constant figure of 70,000, 70,000, 70,000, 70,000. And this was in this last time, and then hence the impeachment was started being prepared in May, is when all this thing was running. And we also saw that the day for the impeachment is where all the documents were signed on the same day, up and including the affidavit for the mover and everything on this particular day. So you say that all that was needed in Siaya was a leadership communication, was a talk, was a discussion between the two leaders. They were supposed to sit and communicate where issues were. The deputy governor said he tried to talk to the governor and ask him A, B, C, D. And the governor at some point, gave him a wall. We can't talk. And he said it clearly when they started, even during the campaigns. Every day they could sit and discuss issues and progresses.
Yes.
But at this particular time, he was blocked, and that's how he was not able to get answers. Fine, I'm not agreeing with him on the point that he had to take his frustrations to the people. Because as leaders, you sit and talk, because then you go and confuse the people. But still, then I ask, why did the governor not come out and say, no, what he's saying is not the truth? They kept quiet, because what he was saying was the truth. But did he have to go up to that? But at times, everybody has freedom of speech, and it gets to a point you want to express yourself and all that. So all what was happening in Siaya, Dibal, was nothing less than politics. It was completely politics.
It was completely politics, and of course, this also falls smack dab in the middle of ODM party, because all these are ODM members. Nikal is looking at me like he's not unbeknownst. Yeah, I want Nikal to actually. I know you were there, but Nikal was here before you. You slept through the alarm today. I'll come to you, Senator. But Nikal, these are party politics, so to speak, and it seems there was a forced marriage before. We know what really happened on the ticketing of ODM for the governorship and the deputy governor. And it seems now the forced marriage is not really working. Now that we have him back in office, what does it portend even for running over Siaya County?
I don't have much information because
But just listening, you have information because Senator Tabitha has laid out all things that happened yesterday.
There's one bit I'm not clear of. The committee found it culpable, isn't it? Then the Senate now said no. I was waiting for some information from her, how the change occurred. That at the beginning, you find, well, he has a question to answer. Then you find, no, there's nothing. So it is that, I was happy that he was in both, then we will see. Because that's what was surprising to me. All these things he's saying are very clear to me. I start from the principles of procurement. I would ask a question like, what was he a member of the procurement committee? No. And should he be a member of if he's not a member of the procurement committee, why is he even knowing that a procurement is going on? How does he get into a position where he's even asking whether this person should be paid or not? Now, I'm now not talking as a politician, as I'm talking as somebody who has run procurement. So I really wanted to know how it changed from the committee position to the Senate position, because it's not concurrent unless I missed something.
Right. Allow me to.
Can we have Senator? Then we have you.
All right.
Yeah, Senator Dan Manzo.
Yes, I was part of the committee. There were 4 charges. 2 were not substantiated. 2 were substantiated. And the ones which were not substantiated is like the issue of the chair. It was clear that there was procurement, and there was no really directly evidence in that particular matter, despite the denials, linking the deputy governor to direct purchase of the chair, and for that matter, it was dropped. Then there was a charge of, when you travel to ASPAC, misuse of public funds. The reasoning was that, he's a professional accountant. He's gotten an invitation as a deputy governor. And you see, he's a finance person, and finance is part of a very big part of the management of a county. Somehow, his visit to that meeting will bring in something for the county. And after all, anyway, he made a request, and it was granted. He was allowed to travel. So those two charges were dropped. But the charge on giving misleading information to the public. First, there was his video, a very long video in a funeral, where he talked for almost an hour. And all that talk was in the Luo, but we had a transcript, quite a number of pages. And clearly, the information he was giving in relation to some study which was being built somewhere, and is in the executive, we should know, it turned out that the monies had not been moved. The monies were still there, they had been budgeted for in the supplementary, something he should have known. So he knew very well he was giving misleading information to the public, which is a criminal offense. Because you are either, you abuse the Constitution, or you break the Constitution or any other law according to Article 181A. So the other law he had broken, was the Penal Code. And he was found culpable on that one. And then there was another charge. He was found guilty of having interfered with the procurement process, and where he wanted a certain companies paid, and there was direct evidence that he was lobbying for this company. He took action and went into it, which is also again abuse of office, abuse of the Constitution, breaking of the law, the Economic Crimes Act, and is in his position, that was abuse of his office, and therefore he was found culpable of those two. But when we came to the floor of the House, and even when these proceedings were were going on, even very early in the proceedings, the UDA government, Kenya Kwanza government, had already decided for political purposes, whether criminal or not criminal, whether something bad has been done, whether corruption has been committed or not.
That is not right, Dibale. That is
This
not
one was
right,
waiting.
Dibale.
Telephone calls were
The
coming
senator is
from
now
State
out of
House.
order.
I have evidence.
Dibale.
Yeah.
Wait,
Let him finish.
telephone calls.
It's now getting
finish.
I
out of
followed
order.
the
You
discussion.
cannot
no,
say, you
no,
cannot
no, no.
substantiate
Senator,
that the
Senator,
UDA government had
Senator,
already
let him just finish his point, then now you can give a countermanding
The government
argument.
decided to
It's out
release
of
him.
order.
I yield the
She has
floor
no
to him.
capacity to
I'll
rule
give
me
you
out
a
of order, but I'm
chance.
just saying, telephone
12
calls started coming as early as Saturday, and you could see the shock and the
Substantiate.
argument.
Yes, but how
I can
did you know? How could you?
They were through one of the senators.
No, that is wrong. Let us not
Okay,
allege.
let him finish. Then
And it
actually
went on
you'll
with the leader of
disconstruct his
majority.
argument.
And it was clear, the government wanted this finished even at the committee level, and we said, no, we've already made our decision. When we came to the floor of the House, there was what we call political party position, whether corrupt or not corrupt, whether good for the people of Siaya or not. It turned out, and that's why the newspapers, they are not foolish enough. They say, Ruto-Raila battles, rescue Oduol from acts. So it means this government does not stand for the fight of corruption. It doesn't want good governance. All it wants is to gain as many people as possible to form a government of the corrupt and go on, to rule the country, even if you are wrong. So I believe if State House never interfered, I can assure you, this gentleman would have faced the music.
So for what benefit there's
And you know that interference to the House makes the House a rubber stamp. And it makes the House, makes Senate and the National Assembly totally useless to the people of Kenya. It's just a rubber stamp. There's only one ruler in this country.
So what you're
It's not
alleging is
allowing the rule of law.
that the committees were compromised.
Well, force. They were bulldozed. Now the same bulldozing.
But how was the committee
Not the
bulldozed?
committee,
And yet
it is
the
the
committee
House.
Even
presented
the House.
an impeachment.
The House itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
In
the
the
committee
committee-
found him
No,
culpable.
it's- of course, you began with the committee first.
In the
Yeah.
committee, there was there was 6 Kenya Kwanza and 5 Azimio. So 4, including her, they voted no. No, and even signed for. They signed all
The
of them.
adoption report.
They adopted. They should have refused to adopt and made
No,
what
no,
you
no,
call
no, 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 no.
a
Don't mislead
minority.
the
I've
House.
been a member of parliament for many years. When you disagree, you form a minority report. You disagree, then you make a report of the 4 of you. But now, first of all of them, they agreed with us.
For the adoption report.
They adopted.
Yes.
When you adopt,
but the
it
voting
means,
is in the Hansard.
Yeah, but when you adopt, it means...
They signed.
You have signed
for the report.
If you sign for the report, you are part of it.
For,
yes.
No, but not for the voting.
If you sign, no.
Yeah.
It means the same. If you sign, this also allegedly for many years and has been a permanent secretary. When you adopt, it means you have agreed. But now, because of other forces and the fear and the bulldozing, they adopt, but they say also no. So that's confusion. It means if you don't believe in it, you make a different report. You decline, and you give your reasons. In fact, you reject all of them.
So from your own estimation, if I may just drop in, then I come to you, and Dr. Nyikala as well, because even I'm confused with the sequence right now. Do you see any clammy hands of the executive on this particular, and why would the executive be interfering with the affairs of the Siaya County? Is it now for political expediency, and maybe even 2027?
I want to say this: our senators in Senate are people who know right and wrong, and nobody needs to tell them that this is right and this is wrong. They have a conscience and they understand things, and they are able to say this is a political move from Siaya, and this political move will be countered by another political move, and that is how politics is, and that is why we are here. We counter each other's points politically, and it is the same thing. So for my good senator here, who has been my friend in the National Assembly for many years, to say that there's the hand of State House, we are used to that. That every time things don't go right for them, they look at State House and say the guy is in the State House who is controlling what is happening here. We're used to that, and we know that is every time you lose, you take refuge in that point. But I want to say this, as a lawyer, he also needs to tell us what is the threshold of abuse of the Constitution. What is the threshold? You know, I can't come here today and make a statement that is false as a member of parliament on this show, and now I'll be dragged into a committee to say, you know, you gave wrong information and leads to my impeachment. If this guy went to a funeral and spoke what he said in funeral, it is different when he does it in the office of the governor or at cabinet. You know, what is the threshold for impeachment in this country? It is being abused. That thing of impeachment now is becoming abused. If you do not agree with your deputy governor or you don't agree with your governor, what you do is you call MCAs, give them money. We had 70,000 was transacted. You give them money and tell them impeach this guy because they don't need him. This is a constitutional office that this deputy governor was elected to by the people of Siaya. A whole process. You want to water down the will of the people of Siaya that they exercised on the 9th of August by just with the whim of one person saying, I don't need this guy, I don't want him in office. Even us as Kenya, as people, we will guard the Constitution. This Constitution, our senators swore to protect it. And one of them is to disabuse this notion that you can actually use a Senate to remove somebody from a constitutional office without any form of proper process. You know, we have seen this process being abused by our handshake brothers during the impeachment of Governor Waititu and the impeachment of Governor Sonko. It was purely political. Politics. Fortunately, none of us here was in Senate, but all of us knew. I remember that time I called Kajwang. I think he was the chair of one of the committees.
The PIC?
Yes. And I asked him, Kajwang, you are my friend. Tell me, what did Waititu do wrong that today you're going to vote yes on his impeachment? He told me, this is politics, my brother. And as long as it is politics, we will play the political card. And I'm going to vote to impeach him. Not that he has there's anything really on the threshold of the Constitution, you know, that he should be impeached.
But he told you that in confidence.
Yes, in confidence.
Now you've made it out to the public.
But this is politics. So I want to tell, you know, Dr. Nyikala is a very reasonable person in the House, although these days he's losing his cool in the National Assembly. He's a very reasonable person. And even when he has been whipped to vote in a certain way, because his party has said you must vote in this way, sometimes he comes and says, you know, yes, my party has said this, but you see, I have a different opinion. But because my party has said, you know, I have to follow party position. So I want to tell Senator, in Parliament, there are two things. You can vote using a party position, and he does that. Even his vote yesterday was not because he thinks the deputy governor of Siaya was guilty. As a lawyer, if he was representing the deputy governor of Siaya, he would have said this guy is not guilty. But because a party position was that this guy must go because James Orengo, a titular head of ODM, has said, I do not want to go to work with this guy. He must be removed. As Kenya Kwanza, we have we took an oath to protect this constitution, and one of them is to ensure that the threshold on impeachment is upheld at the highest level, not when people just want to play around with Senate.
So at the end of the day, what really prevailed? Was it now politics, or it was pure investigation?
Upholding the constitution.
The upholding of the constitution. Allow me just to take a short break because I can see it's 7 on the nose. So when we circle back, of course, we try and get granular on this issue with revelations as well of abuse of the imprest within counties where now we can see it is not just, or it's breaching that particular figure that is supposed to be under imprest, 50,000, 100,000, going to $1 million. But who now gives the thumbs up? Is it the figurehead of the county, or who is supposed actually to be monitoring also the imprest and the affairs of how it is being abused?